the formative and the summative assessment. Now, those are mandatory requisites because we have to confer degree for a student. But beyond that, we should see question paper as a learning document. I mean, I don't like a practice of where I give the question paper and at the end of the exam, collect the question paper and then take it. So thinking that the students will get to know what is the question asked and they will pass it on to the subsequent batches. That question paper they should take home and then see that how to solve this, right? What is a new way that is being written? How is a question phrased? Because some of my students might become or will become certainly teachers, right, down the line. So how they will devise question paper if they are going to take same course or a similar course or some other course. So they need to develop that skill, right? How they will develop the skill? Only if I know how I can bring variation in the question paper. Whatever 10-15 years down the line, if they become teachers in some other institute, they know how to devise a question paper. So question paper itself is a learning document. Now, I understand that we keep the heterogeneity of the class in mind, and like say if it is any formative or summative, we don't keep all the cognitive load on higher end. We bifurcate, like say maybe 1/3 of the question paper could be something which everybody can attend. 1/3 is something they can attend if they were sincere towards the course and they really made an effort to learn. And the next 1/3 is something who have indeed learned. So learned, sincerely learned, indeed they have learned. So that's how you need to split up how you devise this question paper. And this question paper, if it is handwritten assessment, suppose if pen paper type of assessments or digital pen paper type of assessments with questions, it need not also form a one pattern. I think faculty should have a freedom to set a question paper of multiple patterns. Like for example, in the institute from where I hail from, we give this freedom to the faculty. We have like 15 different question paper patterns of different combinations. Like say for example, one combination that I use is student have to answer 4 questions out of 6. So it's an open choice. Each question is of 20 marks. So that means you get 80 marks, and then there is a one compulsory question of 20 marks. And that one compulsory question of 20 marks will integrate lot of modules so that in that one question, lot of units are captured. The lot of outcomes are rather captured. The other 6 questions, what I said 4 questions out of 6, that can be specific to one learning outcomes or like one module or one unit, whatever you have as your syllabus. So this is one pattern. Like this, there are different patterns available, and the faculty is actually free to suggest a pattern if they want to have a different pattern for this question paper, pen paper examination also. So this freedom is given. And this is one part. But what if I say that, let's say that if it is going to be a seminar course, how I will write, how I'll present. Now I have to only present. So in that case, we have unconventional assessment, right? Take for example, programming course. There's no point in asking, write a program to do this. Now, why they have to write a program on paper to do that? You should give them a computer, they should type the program and then say, this is how I executed, this is the algorithm that I want. Some other case, let's say for example, where they can build a prototype and show that this is what they have learned, right? So suppose if there's a course which is on environmental engineering or something like that, safety. So that means given a context, they should be able to flush it out, what are all the environmental concerns in that particular scenario. So that means you don't need always a question paper type of assessment. We also have something called unconventional assignments. These unconventional assessments could be like problem based, could be project based, could be case study based. We have something called term paper based. Then we have something video based. If more than this you want to suggest, you can suggest, right? So term paper, what is that? If there is a course, it's a very niche course, which is like a kind of a bubbling course, which gets developed as you teach. Now something, suppose if you're teaching on, like say there's a course on 4G, 5G or something, there's a course on stem cell. the course evolves as you teach. By the time you teach, there might be like 50 papers would have come, some science would have changed. Now, why we want to have an conventional type? What we say is we will have as a term paper where they have to collect some research articles, understand this research article through the syllabus that is there for this course. So they should be able to make a relation and argue how is that course is important for that development in that particular course or area. Then we have a case study. So where we give a case and then ask them to analyze the case, interpret it, make recommendation. This could be very apt for management courses. This could be very apt for environmental type of courses, environmental science, safety, lot of courses where you give a case study and make them an argument. This could be very good for law program courses also. So wherein you can give an actual case and ask them to argue based on whatever the course, the subject that you're teaching, argue this case with respect to this and then make a submission. So formative and summative assessments are required as part of the degree, but we need to see, is there any other way that can best bring out the learning? It is not about capturing the outcome that is there in the syllabus. That is there, that's the minimum. An assessment as an instrument should align with the learning outcome, and all of us will agree, because I assume that in the last decade we have been trained enough to understand that assessment is not for the syllabus, assessment is not for the module or the unit, assessment is for the course outcome. Assessment is an instrument to know whether the course outcome is attained by the student. But we need to think little more deeper into it. Assessment is not just to attain that outcome. Now we should say that should be the minimum benchmark for an assessment. We should go beyond. Can an assessment as an instrument help us to flesh out, to unearth the learning, right? That which cannot be otherwise seen by us. So if we see the assessment with this prism, I think we can devise, and we should give freedom to the faculty to go in for conventional and or unconventional. Just because unconventional assessment is there, that does not mean every assessment has to be turned into a project based, because we need to also think about the cognitive load and the time effort that is required by the students. Suppose if there are 6 courses and you put 6 project based assessment, that is very fantastic. But where is the time available for student to churn, to reflect on those? So we need to sit together as a class among the teachers and then see, okay, in this semester we will pick these 2 courses for project based, rest of the courses can go on the conventional mode. All faculty should come sit together and then talk. Let us see how to facilitate students learning in this semester, because all 4 of us are teaching or 5 of us are teaching. How are we going to give our assessment so that one course assessment does not becomes an impediment for another, but it complements, it strengthens, and it enables person to learn. So they should not get tired of doing an assessment. They should actually feel rejoiced that they learned by doing this assessment, and there is a corollary benefit of marks being assigned for that process. From my experience, yes, I would first directly admit that evaluation is time-intensive process. It takes the time, because I fully understand in my profession I'm committed for this time. Right? That's part and parcel of my profession. However, what I want to do in that evaluation only makes a difference of whether I cherish or I see it as a draining process. Now, part of the evaluation can be facilitated by a tool. Now, let's say, suppose if we have a digital submission of the student's answer script, we can run through a tool, make the tool evaluate the student's response and get the first level evaluation done. I repeat, assessment, yes, or evaluation does take the time, but the first part of the evaluation, wherein we want to do the first level screening of the responses, to arrive at a broad zone of marks, this can be given to a tool, provided we have digitized the students' responses. Now, once that is done, the refining of those evaluation is where we can chip in. And now, because I got freed of my time, because I'm not going to do the first part, now this is a time there where I can put myself to give more insightful feedback to the students. But if we are taking face-to-face classes, we know how the student was there in the class, right? We know whether the student has come daily, whether the student was attentive, whether he or she participated in the class. All these things would be there in our memory. Or I expect as a teacher with a connect, I should have some idea of my students, of observing them for 3 months. Because teaching is not mere plastic transfer of knowledge content from a textbook or my brain to their brain. It is the connect, the elements between two individuals makes the difference. So if we have this, what you call as a metadata of the class proceedings, that should also go in the feedback. This feedback AA will not be able to give, because AA will only give feedback of what is written there. It will say this answer is wrong, it will say this answer is correct, and it will only say how it can be corrected where it has gone wrong. But it will not give any comments on the attributes of learning, right? What the student has to change in the class in his learning behavior, that if he has to improve, this AA cannot do, because AA is not observing the class. If you have an AA teacher to observe the class completely, probably AA will do that. So as of now, given the current context, I would wish during evaluation, over and above the technical comments, we should also give personalized comments based on the information or based on the data that we have of them from the class. On how was their learning attribute in the class should also be given as part of the comments.